Welcome to the course UEC 001. In this module, we will discuss about the effect of temperature on the performance of p-n junction diode. So let's see. And suppose I am writing that this is the characteristic at room temperatures. So I am writing here value of 25 degrees centigrade for the understanding, 25 degrees centigrade of room temperature condition. My diode current in terms of milliampere, diode voltage in terms of volts, and this is my no bias condition NP. So you can check, especially in reverse bias and forward bias. So we have to check the behavior of p junction diode when temperature is increasing or decreasing, especially to the forward bias region and in reverse bias region. Two step number one, see the effect in forward bias case. In forward bias case, so if temperature increases, if temperature increases, then curve will be shifted to the y-axis, with a rate of 2.5 millivolts per degree centigrade increment in the temperature. So this is an interesting parameter. My curve will be shifted towards the y-axis if temperature increases. So I am marking here, if temperature is increasing, then my curve will be shifting towards the y-axis with a rate of 2.5 millivolts per degree centigrade increment in the temperature, 20 degree centigrade, and there is a some change, and my temperature goes increase to 100 degree centigrade. So you can check the net change in the temperature is of 80 degree. So let us try to calculate this shifting. Okay, so it is 2.5 multiplied by 80, which is somewhere 0.2 volts. So it plays a significant role. Now you can check, if suppose I was dealing with a silicon diode, and you know the knee voltage of silicon diode was 0.7 volt. So if I was working at 20 degrees centigrade with silicon diode, then this will be the value of knee voltage 0.7 volt, and it will be reduced by a value of 0.2 volt. That means now my effective value will be effective voltage. Now this is my effective voltage, and this is just because of the increment in the temperature, and this is when temperature increase from 20 to 100 degree, means when there is a net change of 80 degree centigrade in the temperature, then you can check the effective knee voltage is 0.5 volt. The effective knee voltage is 0.5 volt, and this plays a huge role on the performance of p-n junction diode. Okay, so I am marking the curve over here. So if my temperature goes increase, then the value of curve will be like this. And in fact, the this is somewhere, suppose I am writing at 100 degrees centigrade. I am writing at 100 degrees centigrade. In fact, you can check, I have marked to reverse saturation current also here, the value of IS I have marked. This will discuss this also. On the second side, if suppose I am saying that the temperature is decreasing, so there will be a reverse effect. If temperature is decreasing, then there will be a reverse effect, and that effect is somewhere over here. So suppose I'm talking about it is at minus 25 degree centigrade. So if temperature decreases, that means my curve is moving away from the y-axis. Okay, so this is the one step which we have studied for forward bias case. Now let's see the impact on the reverse bias. What is the impact of temperature to the reverse bias of the time? Okay, so let's see what happened to the reverse bias. So let's see on reverse bias. Also, IS will be doubled, for an increment of for an increment of 10 degrees centigrade, for an increment of 10 degrees centigrade in temperature. Okay, so there is a huge impact of temperature in the reverse bias. Now I am summarizing the term. What technically we are having: if temperature increases, my effective value of knee voltage will reduce. Okay, or this is somewhere the threshold voltage will reduce. And to the reverse bias region, the reverse saturation current will be doubled for every reverse saturation current will be doubled for every 10 degree centigrade rise in the temperature. So let's see one example for this. Let's see one example for this for the better understanding. Taking a same scenario, suppose initially we were dealing at 20 degree centigrade, and somehow my temperature is increased to a level of 100 degree centigrade. And suppose in that situation, I am considering that when my temperature was 20 degree centigrade, the value of IS, I'm saying that the value of IS at that time is 10 nanoampere. I'm dealing with 10 nanoampere. So let us see the impact of increment in temperature in detail. Okay, for this example. So when temperature is 20 degree centigrade, and from this 20 degree centigrade to 30 degree centigrade, when it increased from 20 to 30, then initially my current was 10 nanoampere. So I'm writing over here initial temperature incremented, initial current, initial IS, and incremented IS, so that you will be knowing the impact of increment of temperature on the reverse saturation. So initially if it is 10 nanoampere, then it will be increased to 20 nanoampere. Now next level I am writing from 30 degree centigrade to 40 degree centigrade increment. So with that, now my initial level is 20 nano ampere, and it will double now. So from 22 it is now 40 nanoampere. When it is increasing from 40 degree centigrade to 50 degree centigrade, now current will be doubled from 40 nanoampere to 80 nanoampere. If it is moving from 50 degree centigrade to 60 degree centigrade, so I am just performing this exercise for every 10 degree centigrade increment, because the value of current will be double. So it is 80 nano to 160 nanoampere. Let's move from 60 to 70 now. Now it has to increase from 160 nanoampere to 320 nanoampere, 70 degree centigrade to 80 degree centigrade, 320 nanoampere to 640 nanoampere. Now 80 degree centigrade to 90 degree centigrade. I have divided the problem into intervals of 10. 640 nanoampere to, now I am writing this value in micro, so 1.28 microampere, 90 degree centigrade to 100, because I was taken my problem from 90 to from 20 to 100. So this is the last exercise, and now it is 1.28 micro to, it is now my 2.56 microampere. And now you can check the significant difference. When my temperature was 20 degrees centigrade, my reverse saturation current lying somewhere here at 10 nanoampere. When it increased to 100 degrees centigrade, now see the impact of temperature. The value of reverse saturation current is now in microamperes. It was in 10 nanoamperes, and now from nanoamperes to, my current is lying somewhere in microampere. I'm taking one more step last. If from 100 degrees centigrade, and suppose I am moving to 200 degrees centigrade, if suppose temperature move from this, so now this level is from 2.56 microampere, and I'm having the data, it will go up to 2.62 milliampere, and this is an alarming situation. So if temperature increased to a level of 200 degrees centigrade, now you can check the value of IS. My IS is 2.62 milliampere at 200 degrees centigrade temperature. And you can recall the ID. Generally we measure ID in terms of milliamperes. So in such situation, even though we are talking about the reverse bias direction, one cannot neglect this value, because you can see the range, and now my range of reverse saturation current is in milliamperes. So there is a huge role of temperature on the performance of p-n junction diode. Okay, so we have seen, let me summarize. So if temperature is increasing, my curve will shifting towards the y-axis. Okay, in the forward bias case. In reverse bias case, my curve is moving away from the x-axis. Technically means the effective value of threshold voltage will be decreasing with a rate of 2.5 millivolt per degree centigrade increment in the temperature, and my reverse saturation current will be double for the increment of 10 degree centigrade. Okay, in the reverse bias case. So this is the impact of temperature on the performance of p-n junction diode. Now let us see the basic difference between the ideal and practical diode. Okay, the term ideal is hypothetical, means we want the device which should have the performance nearly to my hypothetical device. Okay, so let me draw the VI characteristics of my ideal diode first, so that one can easily understand the term. This is my diode current ID in terms of milliampere, diode voltage VD in terms of volts, origin no bias condition. In forward bias this is the case, in reverse bias this is the case. And working of diode is a closed switch, working of diode over here is open switch. So this is a open switch, closed switch. VI curve for ideal diode. This is my VI curve for ideal diode. If I want to calculate the resistance, RF notation is sufficient to representing the term. RF is the resistance of diode when it is forward bias. So from Ohm's law, it should be the diode voltage VD divided by the diode current ID. Now you can check, as it is a closed switch, that means across the closed switch the voltage VD, the voltage across diode will be 0 volt. In this situation, having an interesting outcome, the resistance of diode when it is forward bias will be 0 ohm for the case of ideal diode. Likewise, the reverse bias case, RR VD upon ID. Now you can check for this. The value of ID is 0. So as it is 0, VD divided by 0. Divided by 0 means it is infinite ohm. That means the resistance of p-n junction diode when it is working in reverse bias mode of operation, it is infinite ohm. So this is the interesting outcome, very interesting outcome I am having for the ideal case. Behavior of diode is it behaves like a closed switch of voltage across diode is 0. Okay, and you can see in fact interestingly from here uh, in forward bias case I am having a curve on the y-axis. Y-axis means from the high school level the equation of y-axis is x equals to 0, that means vd equals to 0. Okay, so you can check the relation from forward bias, and on the reverse bias case I am having a curve on x-axis, and again the equation of x-axis is y equals to 0, and y equals to 0 means id equals to 0. So you can see this. So this is the performance of ideal diode. Okay, now at the same side I am drawing the characteristic for practical diode. In this forward bias case, the behavior of diode, rather than a short circuit, it will replace by a battery, and in fact the value of this battery will depends upon the material. It should be replaced by vk. Okay, for example, if it is made up from silicon, then it will replace by a value of vk equals to zero point 0.7 volt, provided that if I am saying that my diode is made up from silicon. However, in the uh, reverse bias case, there is a practical value of is, but as the typical value is in pico ampere, and if I am ignoring the effect of temperature, then you can see that the value of id equals to 0. That means it seems like a works like a open switch in the reverse bias case. Vi curve for practical diode. Now you can check if I want to calculate the value of rf now. So rf equals to vd upon id. Now you can check vd is nothing but my vk, or I'm taking example of zero point 0.7 volt over here divided by id, and uh, id will be low somewhere in milliamperes. So the value of rf will be very very low. Value of rf will be low as the value of vk is low, so it is low in few ohms only. However, in case of the reverse direction rr, I will have vd upon id, and in the practical situation vd will be the external voltage and id over here is my is, and you can see that is is in pico or nano. If simply I am taking in micro, so I will have this value somewhere in mega ohms. That means this value is ideal diode. I am summarizing actually, and for the case of practical diode, and I am writing their values. RF will be 0 ohms, it will be low, it will be infinite ohm, it will be very high. Okay, so this is the basic difference between ideal and practical. So if you can recall the curve which we have discussed for the practical diode, you can see that we are having in forward bias region diode will replaced by a battery of value knee voltage, which will be equivalent to the knee voltage, knee values of that particular material diode made up from, and there will be a role of supply also, which type of supply we are using. So this in step number one we are dealing with the dc resistance or static resistance volts. Suppose I am saying that I am dealing with the silicon curve. So for the dc level, you know that irrespective of time it's a constant curve, it's a constant value. So with that I will have a q point over here. Suppose this is my Q point. So how to find this static resistance? It is very easy. Corresponding to this Q point, simply find the two values, value of ID and corresponding value of VD or this Q point. So this is my static resistance or simply the DC resistance. Now let us see the second part of, if rather than dealing with the DC signal, if I am dealing with AC. So AC resistance, which is also known as dynamic resistance. AC resistance or dynamic resistance. And suppose this is my reference level and this is the signal. So if this is the signal, this is my Q point. So in order to get this particular term, it is better to draw a tangent to this particular point and find the variation. This is my change in current, change in diode current ID, and this is my change in voltage, diode voltage VD. And now you can check my dynamic resistance R. You can see in case of DC value, uh, it was independent upon time because it has a fixed value. So no information is available what is happening to the neighborhood. However, in this case, it's a continuous varying signal with a Q point. With reference to the Q point, it is having the information of neighborhood also. Okay, so mathematically one can easily draw, select, smartly choose a particular Q point, and with that Q point draw a tangent. And you know that for a variable the tangent will provide the information of slope. Okay, so we will drive the term. Suppose I am choosing 2 point. This is my point P1 and this is my point P2. So you can see that the variation in voltage is very less between these two on the scale. However, the value of current at P2 is large. The value of ID is high. The value of ID is very high at this level P2 in comparison to the value of diode current. It is very low at level P1. And from this formula, RD, if I am saying that VD, the voltage across diode is approximately constant, then you can see that the value of RD is inversely proportional to ID. So it means that if value of current is low, if ID is low, value of RD corresponding to this particular point, value of RD is high. And if I am choosing higher value of current, then value of RD will be low. This is very interesting outcome. Similar explanation can be seen from this AC resistance also. Okay, you can choose point P2 and P1, but we have to find the variation at these 2 points P1 and P2, and we will have the similar result. ID equals to Is e to the power of Vd upon Nvt minus, for one I am writing Is itself. Differentiate above equation with respect to Vd. So I will have dId over dVd. Is is constant, so as it is, e to the power of variable itself same, e to the power of Vd Nvt, but it will be multiplying the term 1 upon Nvt, and this term is my constant, so this term will be 0. So I am having, now I am writing it is simply, I'm sorry, in fact uh, this is not id, actually this is is. So did upon dvt is is into e to the power vd upon nvt, and multiplying this constant term minus derivative of is 0. So explicitly I am writing it is my 1 upon nvt times is e to the power of vd upon nvt, and this is my did upon dvd, is into e to the power of vd upon nvt. So you can check from this particular term, I can write this term as, or from this equation I can rewrite, you can check, I will have id plus is equals to is times of e to the power of vd upon nvt. So instead of is into exponential term, I can rewrite id plus is. So I am rearranging did upon dvd equals to id plus is divided by nvt. Further, for forward bias case, for forward bias case, we can neglect the value of is. So if I am neglecting is and taking ideality factor n equals to 1, and you can check what about this quantity did upon dvd, it is my 1 upon rd, that is dynamic resistance, current upon voltage, and it will be now id upon vt. So I'm having an interesting outcome, that is my dynamic resistance id equals to vt upon id, vt upon id. Further, if I am taking a condition at room temperature, if I am dealing at room temperature, you can see we have calculated the value of this vt, and it is approximately equals to 26 millivolt. That means value of rd equals to 26 millivolt divided by id. So I'm having an interesting outcome, my dynamic resistance or my AC resistance is inversely proportional, rd is inversely proportional to the forward diode current id. This is the interesting outcome. Okay, now in this situation I have not considered the actual value of diode resistance. Okay, so I am writing a further term which has included several component rd dash, and it will be my vt upon id plus some rb, where this rb, it includes the body resistance of the diode, body resistance. It also include the resistance of, it also include the resistance of the electrodes, my body resistance. Typical value of rb is very less, 1 ohm or 2 ohm somewhere. So this is my dynamic resistance, and let's see, for the average resistance we require such condition if swing of AC signal is very high. So if my swing of AC signal is very high, this is my id in terms of milliampere, this is my vd in terms of volts, then I have to choose 2 points, and between these 2 points I have to find the two terms, like what is the variation of uh, id between the 2 points. Suppose this is my p2 and this is p1, and correspondingly I have to also find the variation in vd. So my average resistance R average. This is ratio of delta VD upon delta ID, but I'm writing over here from point to point to point, and with reference to this graph between P1 to P2. So if swing of signal is very high, then rather than measuring the AC signal, it is recommended to use the average value of resistance. Okay, so we are stopping our discussion here. Thank you.